Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Aurelia. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Age of Wonders 3, and this is a roleplay campaign where you, the viewer, makes all the decisions. And first, I'd like to say thank you to the scouts, the brave scouts of Aurelia, who have put forth this amazing rendition of the land that they have explored. They've also provided much information on how to interpret this map, including the idea that these skull markings with the arrows coming out generate raiding parties that are coming after our city and that must be stopped. So I appreciate that very much. Now, the council had a lot of decisions to make at the end of the previous episode, and they deliberated, as they always do, and here are the conclusions that they came to. First off, I'm happy to see that the council is diversifying. To be sure, it was dominated previously by the nobles, but it appears as if the merchant class is representing itself more strongly, and I'm very happy to see that. Second, I'd like to take a special moment to single out two particular council members, Corvus Corax and Cullen Kerr. And the reason why I want to do that is because I feel that their methodology for explaining their opinions is ideal for me. And what I mean by that is they write long and detailed opinions that are very much in character, but at the same time, they highlight their actual votes by bolding specific words in order so that when I am glancing over their accounts, I'm able to see very quickly what their choice is. And I would like to encourage all of the council to follow similar methodologies in order to make tallying votes in the future easier. So thank you very much, Councillor Corax and Councillor Kerr. As to the deliberations of the council, we had discussed what Frigoberto of Aurelia, should do in terms of growing himself as an individual. And this one was close, folks. A lot of folks wanted to see Frigoberto improve his basic skills, including Lord Roberts, Lord Mithridates Megas, Lord McClure, Lord Dunlop, and Lord Barley. However, they were beaten out at the end by a group of lords who wished Frigoberto to become a better marshal, that being Lord Alexander, Lord Isvor, Lord Cody, Lord Vanagarder, Lord Thomas, Lord Logothetes, and Lord Captain Falaf. So we are going to improve Frigoberto's martial ability. It was very close, but that's how we're going to go. And actually, let me get a quick refresh on what the martial ability actually does. Alright, so it just basically gives Frigoberto a bit more health and casting ability and a little bit of defense. Plus it unlocks some new skills, such as inflict bleeding wounds and ranged command, which I can't quite see here, but I presume has the same effect of defense command, only for ranged units only. Interesting. Very good. Now, with regards to Anya, the city feller, it wasn't nearly as close. The council overwhelmingly voted for Anya to become an ironclad baroness, which will improve her defense, ranged attack, and damage. Now, there were strong sub-factions that wished to improve both heroes' basic skills, but in terms of arguments, there was an argument put forward that specialization is much stronger in the long term than basic training. And that's how the council eventually voted, and Frigoberto will abide by the will of the council. Now finally, in terms of this person here, Ignatius the Charged, a sorcerer who wishes to join our fledgling nation, there was really no chance at all. The overwhelming majority of the council, both noble and merchant, decided that we absolutely need this hero to aid us in our struggles for a number of reasons. Obviously, as a check to the religious faction and the priests of the temple, but also because this new substance, this mana, can provide incredible opportunities for us, but it could also provide incredible pitfalls. So having someone who is an expert in understanding it is certainly ideal. So we will be accepting Ignatius into our forces as soon as we are financially able to do so. One thing I would like to note is that Lord Tim Redford has posited that perhaps Ignatius isn't one of the Aurelians at all, but a native human to this plane who is somehow ingratiating himself into us. That being said, it would be a wise choice to keep an eye on him and to accept him into our nation so that we can perhaps learn more about these native humans if indeed he turns out to be so. His ability to master this mana is a little bit suspicious in that no one else of our nation has gotten to that level yet. Even Lord Frigoberto is only learning a little bit of the basics. So, all right. So moving on here, how much does he cost? I forget already, actually. 200. All right, so that's not going to be a huge problem. All right, so Lord Frigoberto and Satura the Dark. Oh, and by the way, I did note, thank you so much for those of you who commented that when you have multiple heroes in an army, that's fine, but army-wide bonuses only emanate from the army leader, in this case, Frigoberto. So if we are going to be giving, for example, Satura army-wide bonuses, that's perfectly fine, but we have to then give her her own army to command, which hopefully once we have more cities and more armies will not be a problem. But I believe at the end of the last episode we had determined that Frigoberto wants to possess this knowledge here that is being guarded by these spectral minions, so we're going to go for it. Our scouts believe that victory should be easily had. And I will take them at their word. All right. I sense an opportunity here, because these wisps, they teleport and they cause a lot of damage, but they've instead moved closer to us, which should allow us to do quite a lot of harm to them before they even get a chance. Excellent, and Satura has gained a level. Or I suppose I should say she has gained experience, which she must contemplate on in order to improve her skills. Our archers are kind of out of range here. They're going to get one shot off only. So now the question is, do I risk our cavalry in taking out the wisps, but then put them at the mercy of these phantasm warriors? I'm going to do it. Excellent. So now let's move up our longswordsmen and our swords masters to back them up along with Lord Frigoberto himself. Actually, yeah, that's fine. We'll move up Lord Frigoberto and we'll use his heavy crossbow. Didn't do too much damage because these creatures obviously have a resistance to physical attacks, being as they are spirits. And they are formidable looking, certainly. Not formidable enough to even make a dent in Frigoberto, however. Though that was very impressive how they moved through the rocks. And this will be the end of them. You can tell our swords masters are already raising their swords and shields in triumph because they have put themselves in a position in which they cannot recover from. Our archers were shooting at a disadvantage there because they had to fire over our men. Excellent. Let's see if I can give our swords masters some experience. Wow, well they gained some experience, but it was certainly hard hard gained. But we were able to defeat them. Longswordsman? And Lord Frigoberto actually cannot move. Oh, right, because he was so defensive. Oh, dear. Well, this may prove interesting. These creatures do have the ability to defeat our... oh, gosh, I hope they don't defeat our swordsmasters, but they definitely have the ability to defeat our long swordsmen. But, luckily for us, they were not able to do so. And with this mighty lance, Frigoberto will bring about their end. Alright, our cavalry gained some experience, and we have won the battle. And we've gained some knowledge, valuable knowledge that we're going to need. However, it has come at an incredible price, and even with the help of Satura, it will take a while for our troops to heal up. So we are going to actually have to be heading back to Aurelia until our healing takes place. Anya's Civic Guard are also healing up, unfortunately for us. It was overwhelmingly the will of the Council that we focus to the west. Now imagine that you are a citizen of Aurelia here, right? You're in this valley. Actually, it's kind of a valley mixed with desert. And you look to your west, and what is the first thing you see? The first thing you see is a small mountain range here, but it's not connected to anything larger or more impressive. Beyond it is even more valleys. So if you stand on a high enough vantage point, let's say you climb up the mountains here next to Aurelia, you could probably see all the way west to this mountain range here, and you see this incredible fertile valley along with numerous deposits of gold. So it's certainly the area that we wish to develop first and foremost. And it appears that many in the council are actually kind of itching to leave Aurelia and found themselves as initial citizens of a new city anyway, so that they can gain in power and influence. Now, in terms of research, this is interesting because the council did speak a lot about research in the previous council session, even though that was not necessarily a topic that was brought up. What they mentioned is that terraforming actually would be a valuable asset to us because it would allow the lands around Aurelia to become more fertile, which would make our citizens more happy and productive. So that's what we're going to be researching. With regards to Satura, we don't necessarily have the time for the council to deliberate on this one. They have gone into recess, so we're going to have to make our own decisions. Now, right now, Satura is assisting Lord Frigoberto in his army. She's not leading an army of her own. So she should be trained in such a way. However, one role that we really need her to focus on is her ability to heal. But it doesn't look like there's anything that she can do right now that will aid in that. Now, her ranged attack is the one we use the most, so obviously increasing the strength of that would be useful. This is interesting, but situational. Making her a monk certainly would be useful. Of course, making her a paladin would be useful as well. But at the end of the day, I believe that her range strength is important, and we might as well give her a few hit points as well. All right, well, our shrine is completed. So the people of Aurelia now have some place to go and worship to their non-denominational gods here. I'm not entirely certain the gods that the Aurelians worship. Now, we have a number of choices here. We could go with the Warlord's Command, which would give us access to Berserkers, which numerous members of the Council has suggested are a good thing. We can go with the Barracks, who would provide us with archers and long swordsmen. At the cost of 100 gold... what we are going to do, actually, is we are going to produce merchandise for 1 turn to improve our gold production, which will then allow us to bring on our new sorcerer, Ignatius, the Charged. And it appears that Ignatius has 10 upgrade points to spend. Well, because the council is in recess, Lord Frigoberto will determine the initial direction that Ignatius shall follow. And that direction is going to be much like Satura, a support hero. Perhaps Ignatius will hang out with Anya. So something that will make him a bit more effective, and I think spell casting obviously is the direction we want to go in with him. Sorcery will unlock better spells, that's very useful. Mage will improve his spellcasting points and resistance. Warlock will improve his resistance and his ranged attack. Elemental magic will give him protection from the elements, not that useful. I doubt seeing him as a paragon. True Sight would be certainly useful in the event that it's needed, completely useless in the event that it's not. If we were to make him the leader of an army, which the council may decide to do in the future, this ability would obviously be useful, giving them 40% protection. But for right now, I think just improving his ability as a mage is a good way to go. And that unlocks some new things for us. That unlocks magic affinity. Again, only useful if he's the leader of an army, but it gives resistance to all of his units. And this is a spell that will bestow enchanted armor. That's actually quite useful. This one will heal panicked soldiers and other units under the mind control of enemies. Steel Enchantment and Shocking Touch seem good, plus it gives him better ranged attacks, which is what we're going to be using him for the most part. He's definitely not going to be mixing it up in melee. I guess we'll start off with a little bit of Warlock. Okay, and there he is. He's going to hang out with Anya for the time being. But we do have a second army, albeit weak, ready to go out when we need it to. And Aurelia has grown yet again into a town of 6,000 inhabitants. My, they are breeding like rabbits, these Aurelians. Alright. Lord Frigoberto would sure like to know if there's ways to improve the healing rate of his troops beyond the abilities of his commanders. Like, for example, if they heal better inside the walls of a city, or if it just requires him to be inside the city's domain, or what. But he is going to just hang out for the turn. Very little, actually. Alright, so each week that this unit rests, they gain, and they look pretty awesome, actually, I have to say. They gain 6 of their health back. So that's going to take them quite a bit of time. We don't really have that time. So the long swordsmen are actually going to stay behind in Aurelia. Frigoberto is going to keep his honor guard of swords masters despite the fact they're weakened, because they're his personal unit. But he will take a unit of civic guard with him and proceed on his adventure to the west. And there's another army of raiders, although they will be crushed. I just want to see if... Okay, so it doesn't really matter at all if we're inside the domain of one of our cities or not. We heal at the same rate. So that's good to know. These guys are going to join up with the city feller. Actually, it's funny. It's putting Ignatius as the army leader, since he's actually more advanced than Anya. Well, that's not really true, though. We're not going to have Ignatius be the leader. And we have researched terraforming, which will certainly benefit our nation. The next thing that was mentioned in the council meeting was that we should improve our warfare, which would make Frigoberto a much better leader. That would take 4 turns. Authority of the Sword would only take 2. One of our lords did recommend that we research this, and for only 2 turns, why not? Where did those enemies go? It appears that the defenders of this place are far too difficult for Frigoberto to handle. Let's look at these gold mines down here. Oh, we should easily be able to take... Oh, well, never mind, though. This is the group that really put the hurt on our previous war party. And certainly members of the council have been seeking incredible and exaggerated levels of revenge against the Tigran menace for that. But I think with the level of experience that our units have gained in the increased battlefield awareness of Lord Frigoberto, that we actually might be able to do some serious damage to these folks. But we'll have to decide if that's the course of action in the next episode. And the next episode, this episode is not a council episode, so the next episode will continue as it has been. And that next episode will be the council episode. So, but I want to leave you with the thought that as a citizen of Aurelia, things are actually pretty good. I mean, you have not been threatened at all in weeks. All of the attacks have been foiled outside of the city limits by our armies. Our armies continue to grow. Our mastery of this new land and its mana has continued to grow. We've enabled 4 individuals of extraordinary skill to lead our armies. So if you're just the average Joe sitting in Aurelia, you're feeling pretty good. We have not yet discovered any hostile force that's organized in any way, shape, or form. In fact, we may need to travel to a whole nother landmass, a whole nother continent to even discover such a force. So in reality, this world is Aurelia's for the taking. And as a citizen of Aurelia, that's certainly what's on your mind. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marcus Aurelius. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.